Welcome to South Pod, the first and foremost podcast created to tell the true story of tech innovation in the American South. South Pod is hosted by Dig South founder Stanfield Gray and produced by Dig South Tech Media, the South's tech hub. Visit digsouth.com for details and join our membership group at dignation.co. This episode of South Pod was originally recorded on Dig Cafe. It features Paul Sparrow of Chief Outsiders.
Hello, Dig Nation. Welcome to Dig Cafe, the virtual event where tech executives, founders, investors, and other experts join us for a fireside chat in front of a live virtual audience of Dig Nation members and guests. Dig Nation is the South's tech membership tribe. Learn more and join us at dignation.co. Dig Cafe is powered by Dig South, the South's first and foremost tech media company. My name is Stanfield Gray. I am your host and the founder of Dig South. Today's Dig Cafe is brought to you by Dig Nation member Oracle for Startups. Oracle for Startups is the launchpad to integrate and scale with Oracle technology, expertise, and global reach. Join Oracle for Startups with promo code DIG2021, that's DIG 2021, to unlock up to $5,000 in additional free cloud credits and a 70% discount for 2 years, plus expert mentorship, migration support, technical resources, and access to Oracle's 430,000 plus customer base. Use the link in the chat today to activate the special promo code. I will pop it up here in a second. Now on to our show. Today we welcome Dig Nation member Paul Sparrow. Paul is a longtime friend, great supporter of Dig South, has participated and been part of the Tech Summit for many years. Paul is a business growth expert and an area managing partner and CMO at Chief Outsiders. Welcome to the show, Paul. It's good to see you today.
Thank you, Stan. Appreciate you having me. Welcome, everybody. Whether you are watching this live or you're watching it on recording, hopefully I'll bring you a little value today. And what I'm going to share with you today are a couple of tools that should help you figure out how to grow your business more effectively. That's probably the best way of thinking of things. So let's jump right into it. You may be wondering, who is Paul Sparrow and who the heck is Chief Outsiders? So let me give you a quick little background on our company. Chief Outsiders was founded back in 2009. The easiest way to think of us is we're a national consulting firm, and we help CEOs find the right answers to their stalled growth problems. We do that as an outsourced or fractional or part-time Chief Marketing Officer. We've served over 1,100 CEOs over the course of our time in the company. We've got 75 CMOs, Chief Marketing Officers, that work with over 60 different industries. And I guess the question that you might ask yourself is, well, are they any good? Paul's talking to us today about how to grow our business. Are they any good at growing their business? We've been on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing privately held companies in America for 7 straight years. So I like to say that Chief Outsiders eats its own dog food. So without any further ado, let's jump into the core of what I've got for you today. So as a man of faith, I can't help myself. I have to refer to the Bible, and this is a fairly obscure book of the Bible. I doubt that many of you were pouring through First Chronicles today, but the quick background is at this point in First Chronicles, King David, most of you know the story of King David. He took over for King Saul, and the tribes of Israel were all giving him their allegiance. And the interesting thing is each tribe sort of had a resume. For example, the Gadites, what was written about them was they were mighty and experienced warriors, expert with shield and spear, with faces like the faces of lions, and they were swift as gazelles. Matter of fact, every tribe had a resume like that. And then there were these guys from Issachar, men who had an understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. But if you think about it, Yeah, you want some tough guys around you if you're the king of Israel, but having people that have unique insight into what's happening around them is a very valuable thing to have. So understanding the times is mission critical. Now, the next thing I'm going to say to you, some of you may get a little upset. It's not my intention. It's nothing personal. It's just a business statement. But I'm going to say this, and I mean it with all my heart. If you don't have strong confidence and understanding about the current economic conditions in the marketplace and in your business and what all of that means to your business, your customers, your prospects, and your competition, you are at a big disadvantage. Having the right level of insights makes you extremely powerful. Now, the way to grow a business, the way I do it at Chief Outsiders, is we think of it in terms of 3 gears. The first gear is the insights gear. That's what we're going to talk about today. The second is strategy, and the third is execution. And those work in a linear fashion. We work exclusively with small and mid-sized business owners, and I often see small, mid-sized CEOs starting with the strategy gear and then going to execution or only execution. And the missing secret sauce is the knowledge, the insights of the competition, the marketplace, et cetera. Having good resources to get those insights is mission critical. And these are the 2 resources that I'm sharing with you today. One is a book co-written by Alan and Brian Bulio. They are brothers. They're actually twin brothers. And the book's called Make Your Move. You can get it at Amazon, easy find, easy read, with some very good strategies that are going to help you beyond just the information that I'm sharing with you today. The other thing I'm sharing with you is the ITR Economics Trends Report. Now, the Bulio brothers are ITR Economics. One's the president, the other is the CEO. But why would I recommend an economics report? You probably have all kinds of data and information that you look at to get a sense of what's going on with the economy. The reason I recommend ITR Economics is because they're very good at what they do. As a matter of fact, 4 quarters out, their forecasting ability is at almost 95%. And I'm going to show you some data today that shows what they're forecasting for the U.S. economy 4 quarters out. They are uncannily accurate at what they do. All right, so let's talk about how do we get started. Let's dig in. So in order to have the right degree of knowledge, you need some good, solid insights. And what I'm sharing with you right now is some company insights. There's internal insights and there's external insights. And what I'm recommending you do is take your company revenue, take the total of the most recent 12 months and graph that out. I'm going to show you how to do that. And the most recent 3 months, and then take a look at the rates of change. And the rates of change are really critical to making that analysis meaningful. So let's start here. This is just looking at what's called a 12-month moving total. And what we've done here, this is 12 months of data. This is December of 2019 all the way back to January of 2019. This is total revenue. So the example company we're looking at, 12 months up through December of 19, $20.3 million in revenue, okay? And what you get is a little bit of trending here. If you look at this and you go, okay, well, back in December of 18, they were 18.2 million, 20.3, gee, it looks like that business is growing. And just with that data alone, you would come to that conclusion. The better view is the rate of change. Now, this is the mathematical formula. Feel free to take a screenshot or reach out to me after the seminar, and I'm happy to share this data with you, this formula with you, so you can track your own data. But the rate of change gives you a little bit better view, a more pure view, and you're comparing where you are today versus this time last year. See, the mistake that many business owners make is they go, well, last year we did 20 million, and this year we finished the year at 20.5 million. So we're up a $500,000. That we've grown. That's not necessarily the case. The trend tells you whether or not you're growing. And when you look at this 12 rate of change, you definitely see a growth trend, but perhaps a little bit of flattening here, 11.5 to 11.5, comparing those last two data sets. All right, so what does the 12-12 do for you? It tells you where your business is today, what business phase. There are four. I'm going to share them with you shortly, but it's a lagging indicator that tells you where are things, how are we doing right now. The other piece of the equation is a leading indicator, and you start with the 3-month moving total, same way we did the 12, only it's 3 months worth of data, okay? And if you look at this, you go, well, looks like things may be off a little bit. Let's take a look at the trend. So throw the trending data in, the rate of change data, and that's exactly what you come up with. The growth of this company is actually moving in the wrong direction, from 13.6% in March of 2019 to 6% in December. That would get my attention if this was my business. So the 312 is a forecast mechanism, and the 1212 is a here's where we are today, okay? This is what they look like side by side. So this is a real company I'm sharing with you. In this example company, the 312 is the lagging, the 1212 is the lagging indicator. And when you look at the 1212, it sort of looks like this business may be growing. But when you look at the 312, it looks like business is receding. Now, how many of you would agree if you felt like your business was growing, but you had some sort of secret forecast that said, we're moving into receding revenues mode, that would be important for you and how you would invest in the way you would strategically make moves in your company? I think everybody would agree with that. Okay. At this point, I will say, if you've got questions, go ahead and type those into the chat portion of the presentation here, because we're going to take some questions at the end, and I'm happy to answer those. All right. I've got a different view for you. Now, if you're like me, you look at data and you look at numbers and you get X's on your eyes. So graphing this out is the way to go. Now, these are different data sets. This is a different company, but it's still very relevant to what we're doing here. I'm showing you what it looks like when you graph out the 312 versus the 1212. 312 rate of change is the lighter color, the orange line, and the 1212 is the blue line, all right? 312 is the forecast, and it typically leads by 3 to 6 months. It varies from company to company, but it's a leading indicator. It's telling you what is coming, all right? And the 312, if it ever dips below the 1212, that means growth is slowing, all right? And that's something you should pay very, very close attention to. If the 312 crosses the 1212 and goes above it, that's telling you the opposite. That's telling you that growth is coming, and that's a good thing. That's definitely something that you want to see. As you're looking at this, as you graph this out, what you're really looking for is checking points. A negative checking point is what I just mentioned. The 312 goes below the 1212, and a positive checking point is when the 312 goes above the 1212. Okay? Now, this really was a real company. I'm not kidding you guys. And I can tell you, most of you probably remember the recession that hit us back in 2008. I will tell you about ITR Economics. In 2007, ITR predicted that that recession was coming. And I don't know about you, but I wish I had had that insight in 2007, because it would have made a difference in my business for sure. But if you take a look at this company, you can see the ups and downs. This line, this is the zero growth line, in case you're wondering. Okay, but you can see the ups and downs of the company and what happened in that recession. The 312 bottomed out right about this point, early point of 2009, and the 1212 followed, right? Okay, and then the recovery started at this point here, this positive checking point. Now, what do you do if you find yourself, if this was your business and you found yourself in a recession, your business turning and moving in the right direction? The 312 gives you the confidence to go ahead and start making some moves, making some strategic moves, and making some investments. And the same thing is true on the backside. If you had a negative checking point, take this business back here in 07 when things started moving in the wrong direction, that's time to tighten the belt. And the mistake that a lot of business owners make is they live in the moment. They pay attention to the Dow or the NASDAQ, and that sort of becomes the way they think of the economy. But looking at what's going on in your business, not just as a snapshot, but looking at the trends and the rates of change, is going to make a big difference. Now, your business is in one of these four phases, and the 12-12 determines which one you're in. You're either recovering, you're in an accelerating growth mode, you're in a slowing growth mode, or you are in a recession. And the same thing is true of the marketplace. You need not only insights into your business, but insights into the market. Now, if you're paying attention, and a lot of the folks that are involved in Dig South are technology oriented. So yesterday, the NASDAQ, hey, let's get all psyched up. But Monday, it was terrible. You can't make good business decisions and good strategic decisions based on the Dow or the NASDAQ. You really need good market-based economic insights. And this is where the ITR Economics Trend Reports comes in. What ITR does is they look at the key markets driving the U.S. economy, and they classify them with these same four phases that I talked about classifying your business with. They analyze a lot of different things. This is one of about 3 pages in their glossary. And this report comes out every single month. This is the sort of the snapshot of what they present. This is sort of the core U.S. economy overview. And I know there's a lot of data here, and it's probably hard to see, and my apologies for that. But these are 7 core indicators of the U.S. economy. This is the current 12-12. So, for example, this top one is U.S. industrial production. What ITR is telling us is the current state of U.S. industrial production is in a recession. But in 2021, and this is exiting 2021, it'll be in an accelerating growth mode. Exiting 2022, things will slow a little. Exiting 2023, it'll be accelerating again. Now remember, 4 quarters out, they're 94.7% accurate. So when I look at this data on behalf of my clients, I have a great deal of confidence when I'm looking at the certain sectors and markets that they're competing in, right? Few things for you to keep in mind. Every business is not going to be in the same phase at the same time. As a matter of fact, your business could be in a recovery phase when your competitor is in an accelerating growth phase. You also probably compete in more than one market. You may source products in a given market, and you may sell in 2 or 3 different markets. So you need to understand what's going on in each of those markets to be able to make good strategic decisions. If you understand where you are, what phase your business is in, and you understand where it's headed, the 312, okay, you can make some very, very good business decisions, strategies, and tactics, and I guarantee you your competition is not looking at this level of detail. Here's the bottom line, you guys. You can absolutely impact the future growth of your company if A, you know what phase you're in, and B, you know what direction you're heading in, and you understand what's going on in the marketplace, right? Bottom line, that up and down sort of rhythm that I was showing you on those graphs, all companies go through it. The objective is to stay above the zero growth line, but everybody goes through it. If you have this sort of detail and you track it regularly, you're going to be a half a business cycle ahead from your competition. And if you just take the time to study it, it'll make all the difference in the world. Every client that I work with, this is a starting point for the business that we do together. Okay, so as we're heading towards a quick wrap up here, again, these are the resources that I'm recommending for you. The book, Make Your Move, and ITR Economics Trends Report. Now, here's the nice thing about the Trends Report. While it is a subscription-based service, it's $975 for a year. And by the way, I do not get paid a commission. I'm not on their payroll, all right? We use their data, and we believe in it very much at Chief Outsiders. But you get a 90-day free trial. So all you got to do is go to ITR.com and check it out. And for 90 days, you can tap into it and see if it's something that would be helpful to you. Final thing I'll say as we wrap up, at Chief Outsiders, we are strategic marketing specialists. We help businesses grow. We create an awful lot of content, and all of it is free and available to you. Feel free to go to chiefoutsiders.com. If you want more information on the growth gears that I referenced earlier, there's a ton of data available on that. Our principals actually wrote a book called The Growth Gears, which is a really good resource as well. And that is it, guys. I know I've dumped a lot on you in a very short amount of time, so I'm going to turn things over to Stan as I back out of the presenter's mode here, and let's see what kind of questions we have.
Well done, Paul. Thank you for that presentation. Questions haven't come in yet, but I had a couple thoughts. So let's say you're looking at the data and the 3 versus the 12-year trend. What are some ways that you can absorb that as a team and decide, what strategies you're in based on whether you're in a recovery or a growth or that mode? I know you'll have all sorts of inputs, but do you recommend everyone coming in and sort of brainstorming on that in some sort of ideation process? What does it look like? We've gathered this data. We have a look at. We know. We have some sense of where we're growing or not growing. What's the best way to kind of put our heads around it, or to take those first steps?
Great question. I mean, where you are and where you're heading and what's going on in the marketplace is going to affect the way you're going to invest and the decisions that you're going to make. So every department is going to be impacted. So, for example, if you are you're moving out of a recessionary phase and you're going into a growth mode, that's when it comes to operations. That's the time to make sure your people are well trained, because you're heading towards accelerating growth, and you don't want any bottlenecks if you're a manufacturing company, for example, okay? Or the flip side of that, if you've moved out of a growth mode and your business is moving into a slowing growth mode, you definitely want to consider what you're spending in sales and marketing. You probably want to tighten the belt a little bit and be more targeted in the type of marketing that you're doing. So the executive team, absolutely. The way we do it at Chief Outsiders and the way I work as a fractional CMO with companies that I work with, we review this data as a team. And what does this mean? Where are we heading? And what are we going to do strategically? And it impacts every single department, no question about it.
So you're making some of those like hiring decisions or budgetary decisions in real time, weekly, monthly, quarterly. How far do you give yourself to try something and then determine whether it's working or not, the impact?
Yeah. Because you've got the 312 and you see it's coming. So let's talk about moving from a growth phase to a slowing growth phase. And you see that it's coming, you can go ahead and start planning. Now, when you're heading into a slowing growth phase, that's probably not a time that you want to invest in new hires. So you might consider a reduction by attrition. Okay, somebody quits, you just don't replace them. And you keep watching the data until you know you're moving out of that. I will say this is important, Stan. If you become a student of this, you can avoid a business recessionary phase. You can actually go from, so phase A was that heading up. Phase B was the growth. Phase C was receding. Phase D is recession. You can actually, the proverbial jump the shark, Stan. You can actually jump a recession if you plan for it ahead of time, if you know that you're heading towards rocky times. So the idea from a strategic kind of standpoint is, let's make sure that we're spending money wisely, or let's make sure that we're tightening the belt wisely.
Okay. Yeah, great advice. One last question from me, and that would be, looking at the '08 recession and the pandemic last year, let's say your business looks pretty solid, is okay, but the sky is falling out there. People are panicking about what's happening in the stock market. How do you know what to trust? Do you dig further into your data, or do you say, well, there may be some indicators over here we better weave into the mix, or we're going to get blindsided?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I have to say, in ITR, I trust. Okay, I do not pay attention. I do not pay attention. The only reason I commented on the NASDAQ this morning was because I get a couple of updates in the morning, and I know we're very tech focused at Dig South, and so I looked at it and thought, wonder what the NASDAQ did yesterday, because I figured a bunch of our audience would have paid attention to it. I don't get lathered up about it, and I recommend that my clients don't either. The internal data, the 312 and the 1212, gives me complete confidence about the health of the company, and the ITR data gives me external confidence about the marketplaces. It gets a little complicated, Stan, because you're probably not sourcing goods and competing in the same market, so you're probably externally in several different markets, and that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. But would I recommend adding in other data? No, I really wouldn't. I'll say internally, you can measure anything with the formulas that I shared today. You might go, well, we'd rather look at profitability, or we'd rather look at sales, or we'd like to look at subsets. We'd like to look at new customers, or how are we doing with a new product? You can literally measure anything, but I like to keep it simple. I've been doing this for 5.5 years, and I have great confidence in what ITR brings to the table. So I rely on it, and I don't complicate it. I don't listen to the Fed. I don't listen to the government. I'm not freaked out about who's the president, because the truth of the matter is the president has very little impact on the economy. I know most people are going to think I'm a knucklehead by saying that, but it's true. It's all momentum based.
Well, it sounds like ITR should be paying you a referral.
Well, they're a very good resource, and I just find that to be very reliable. I'll add this into the discussion here, Stan, and it's because I present what I've just shared with the group many times, and I've done it in workshop fashion. So in about a 3-hour workshop, I go from, this is the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more about the market-based stuff, and then there's a lot about strategies, okay? And I find business owners get excited about the strategies, because that's where the rubber meets the road. The mistake that I would recommend staying away from is assuming you know what business phase you're in. Everybody that's paying attention to this are smart guys. You wouldn't be on Dig Nation looking at this particular offering if you weren't interested and hungry and looking for information. But don't assume that you know. I've worked with countless business owners who thought they were in phase A and they were really in phase B, or they thought they were in B and they were actually in D. And B is growth and D is recession. You don't want to be the person who thinks that. So I know you're smart. I know you've probably got a good feel for where you are. Let the data tell you the truth, and that's the key to growing your business. Knowing where you start based on data insights, and knowing where you're going by measuring, utilizing data and metrics to determine the effectiveness of the strategies that you've got in place.
Great final word, trust the data. So if people want to get in touch with you directly, Paul, again, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, my email address is psparrow, like the bird, psparrow @chiefoutsiders.com. I'm here in Charleston. I don't have a Charleston phone number, and I don't mind giving my phone number. Yeah, I can be reached at area code 615-351-7189. Either way, reach out. Feel free to give me a shout. Happy to coach you through this. I know we've just thrown a lot of stuff on folks, so feel free to give me a shout, and I'll coach you through how to make it happen.
Great. Well done, Paul. Thank you for joining us today on Dig Cafe. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Stan.
On behalf of Dig Nation, I'd also like to thank our guests for tuning in today, and a special shout out to our sponsor, Oracle for Startups. Oracle for Startups' mission is to help startups grow and flourish. If you are a member of Dig Nation, a startup of any size in the B2B or B2C tech space, and looking for mentorship, access to global customers, and migration and tech support, this is the opportune time to sign up with Oracle for Startups program. Email us at info@digsouth.com. That's info@digsouth.com, and we will connect you to Oracle for Startups. To keep up with tech news in the South and learn more about our virtual events and memberships, subscribe today to our e-news at digsouth.com. And learn more about Dig Nation, the South's tech tribe, at dignation.co. That's where you will find the content, contacts, and capital opportunities. Let's try that again, tongue twister. Contact, content, and capital opportunities to succeed in your business at dignation.co. To sponsor Dig Cafe and our other programs, also email us at info@digsouth.com for details. Until next time, this is Stanfield Gray signing off. Thank you for joining us today.